We have with us this evening Mr. Bryce Riggs, who's the Executive Director of the Seneca Regional Chamber of Commerce. He's also the chair of the committee for passing the road levy. And Mr. Matt Watson, the City of Tiffin engineer.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, Bryce Riggs. I'm the chair of the Road and Bridge Levy, the Road and Bridge Levy campaign. 4 years ago, I volunteered my time to be on the committee that simply just advocated for the passage of the Road and Bridge Levy. Several things were clear to us at the time. Obviously, our community was heading in a positive direction, but the other thing that came out of it was that we simply didn't have the funds to support our infrastructure for the long term with rising costs, and then two, also to support other departments within the city of Tiffin, including safety services. And really our message in 2018 was very clear: to trust the city's administration, that they use these dollars to best advocate for state and federal dollars to really go further than what they currently were. With that, we said, the city of Tiffin was very proactive at the time. Other communities were waiting on Columbus and Washington, D.C. As we know, infrastructure is very much a hot topic issue, and I think we can all appreciate the work that's been done within the community in the last few years using these dollars. One thing that's important to note, that on the ballot, the language we're reading, it's a proposed municipal income tax. This is not new. We've been paying this since 2019. These dollars, if you drive around the city of Tiffin throughout the year, you'll see these dollars are really being used in our community, and Matt Watson, the city engineer, is going to dive into it. It's just a continuation of an existing tax that's been in place. We've seen the significant return in these dollars. For example, previously the average spending for road and bridge, for road resurfacing was $300,000, and it's been north of $3.2 million since 2019. Again, I just want to stress that it's a continuation, and it's going to be good for our community so we can continue to thrive. In turn to Matt Watson, who's kind of the numbers guys, the one thing I think is really important to note, that our community has a plan in place for these dollars. Mayor Mons has done a great job. If you listen to Matt Watson talk, he really cares about this and our community's infrastructure for the long term.
Okay, thank you, Bryce. And first I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, and also for giving us the opportunity to speak about the City of Tiffin's Road and Bridge Levy. Most importantly, though, I want to thank the residents of the City of Tiffin for voting to pass this levy in 2018. You not only entrusted the City of Tiffin, but you trusted the City Engineer's Office to do the right thing with this extra money. And I think we've really built a fiscally responsible and effective plan since this levy was passed. Most importantly, we brought in over $5.3 million in state and federal grant money since 2019 when this levy was passed. So taking that $5.3 million with the projected $6.5 million in additional revenue, we're going to see nearly $12 million in investment in our roads and bridges at the cost of only $6.5 million in local funding. So essentially, this plan has allowed us to take $1 in local investment and turn that into $2 in improvements to our road and bridge infrastructure. So that's something we're very proud of at the City of Tiffin, and I don't think a lot of communities out there can say the same. In regards to road benefit, as Bryce said, we've almost paved $3.3 million in roads since 2019. So that's an average of about $1.1 million a year. Prior to the passage of the levy, we were paving roughly about $300,000 per year. And that $300,000 annual budget put us on a 40-year paving cycle when you did the back math. This $1.1 million annual investment, or 3.3 over the last 3 years, is really laying the foundation to put us on a 15 to 20-year paving cycle, which is key, and it's the maintenance that's needed to prolong the lifespan of our roads. In regards to bridges, we've had 2 bridges that had needed addressed prior to the passage of the levy. Both of them are right outside the door here on Ellis Street. So we have already replaced the bridge deck on the Ellis Street Canal Bridge. That project was about $605,000. That was 100% paid for with road and bridge levy funds. We also have the Ellis Street River Bridge project coming up. That's going to start construction next year. That is a $4.5 to $5 million project. We've successfully leveraged $2.5 million in state and federal funding to offset that cost. So we're only looking at approximately $2 to $2.5 million in local funding to replace the largest bridge that we're responsible to maintain in the city of Tiffin. So we're only responsible to maintain the bridges on local roads. So the bridges that are on state routes in our community, those are the responsibility of ODOT. So we're going to walk away replacing our largest piece of bridge infrastructure without taking on any long-term funding or financing being required. So we've come a long ways. There's still a lot of work to do. As I said, I really feel we built a fiscally responsible and effective plan. And in order to also be successful with that fiscally responsible and effective plan, I feel we've been extremely transparent over the last 3 years. So if many of you read the Advertiser Tribune, each year we are providing an update to the citizens of Tiffin on how this money is being spent. So I write a 1 to 2 page annual update to the citizens, which states what came in as far as revenue, what's went out in that given year and expenses, all down to the penny. It also breaks down, what is expended, what it's been spent on. If money was spent on the Ellis Street Bridge project, it breaks that down. It goes into detail so much that tells, what the carryover is. Because if that money's not spent in that certain year, that money is going into the next year's budget because it is restricted towards the use of our roads and bridges and only the construction of our roads and bridges, not salaries. So that transparency, I think, has the city of Tiffin residents lent us the trust that the city of Tiffin to do the right thing with their money, and we've only felt that it was our due diligence to provide them that transparency and build that fiscally responsible and effective plan.
I think the big thing in closing, I would say, no one likes to pay taxes, right? I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, but these are actually tax dollars that we see that we know that they're restricted just to roads and bridges, that we see these dollars spent locally in our community, and that doesn't happen very often. And I think, basing what we've done with some polling and those kind of things, folks are pretty confident in the direction our community is going. We've come a long way in a short amount of time, and I tell people, imagine, not investing in your car, and then over the course of 20 years, and then you're not going to fix all your problems in 2 to 3 years. This is a long-term plan in place, and we've a lot of folks asking about, hey, what about my road? What about this road? Well, no, that's part of a plan. Matt Watson does actually a very detailed system where it talks about, he grades every roadway, and there's explains these where the dollars are spent and this is why. And so this man's extremely smart. He's good at what he does for a reason. And honestly, he just went to a conference last week, and he was the premier speaker. He was a keynote speaker for the speakers, for all the engineers in the state of Ohio, for a reason, because he's very good at what he does and good at long-term planning. We'll open up for any questions.
We do have a question. What is the economic benefit for the city of Tiffin to have its roads in good shape? It's the either one.
Okay, yeah, I'll address that. Costs continue to rise. Specifically this year, we're seeing a large increase in cost due to inflation. So invest now or pay more later. Since we did numbers in the past when we campaigned for the initial passage of the levy, in 2005 we were paying $70 per cubic yard for asphalt. In 2020 we were paying just over $160 per cubic yard. So you've seen a double in the cost of the material over that 15-year time frame, and I'm sure that's only going to continue forward. So pay now, pay later. When we weren't investing properly in our roads, we were just falling further and further behind by not properly investing. So what we're doing now is we're spending over the amount that's needed to put our roads on that 15 to 20-year paving cycle in order to get caught up. Once we get caught up, we will not only focus on the resurfacing of roadways, but we'll also be focusing on long-term fixes in regards to road reconstructions. And outside of just the 2 bridges that I spoke of, we are responsible for maintaining 13 bridges in our city as well as 11 roadway culverts. So we've only addressed a small portion of the infrastructure over the last 3 years, and we got a long ways to go.
And I think the big economic benefit I'll add to it is that Matt's able to go down to ODOT every year and say, this is what we're projecting in local funding. He's able to match those dollars from state and federal dollars before these projects even thought about, and it's earliness of the design phase. So the economic benefit is that we're bringing dollars that we ultimately pay back to our community. I know it's been a hot topic with the county commissioner's office and ODOT District 2, those kind of things. So by Matt having those dollars, economic impact is we're able to do more with less.
The next question, because you've invested in our city roads and streets, how do ours compare to other communities who haven't done the work that you've done?
I will say, I mean, we obviously travel other communities. We all know those communities that around us that you drive through and you say, when's the last time this road has been repaved? It's been a while. So I think from a feel aspect, I would say you feel better about it. But I will say that, I mean, we are familiar with other communities that they're asking ODOT for funding for projects, not rebuilds, not those kind of things. They're asking ODOT for funds for just street repaving. And so I would say, instead of using state dollars, for those kind of projects, we're using state dollars for rebuilds and those kind of things, a little bit more advanced and a little more of a hefty price tag to them than just a repaving. But I'll ask Matt because he's the one who works with all the engineers throughout the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I'll say that, we weren't the first ones to come to the forefront with a levy of such, but there has been a lot of other several communities around us that have followed our lead. City of Fremont, I believe, has a similar issue on the ballot.
For the first time, I would say.
For the first time this upcoming May. They're asking for 0.5%. We're trying to be as fiscally responsible here with the 0.25%. But going back to that, if the community has the proper plan in place, they're going to have good infrastructure and good roads. Those that do not, they're going to be lacking behind where we stand right now because we have a good, fiscally responsible and effective plan.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome.